Good morning and Sairam, Nija ma'am, you're welcome.
A very good morning to you, Nija ma'am, and I'm Anubha Bahadur, and it's an honor for us to have you with us, and I'm sure it's going to be a really enriching session for the children and for all of us. I am looking forward to it, and I'm sure the kids are really going to benefit from it. So we are really looking forward to it, and a very, very warm welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and to everybody else who's on this. Are the others also?
Good morning.
Good morning, Kiran.
Good morning, Neja. Welcome.
I have to apologize first of all for my informal dressing up, because this is all I have here in my jungle house. So
no, I know. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You're looking fabulous. You're looking.
So thank you very much for inviting me for this session or this workshop. It's going to be a pleasure for me to help these children in any way that I can, and I'm here for whatever help that I can offer.
Thank you. So thank you. We'll let the children start. Children, shall we start? Huh?
Yes, ma'am. Atik?
Children, I think we can start. Yes, Akshay, please start. Athar.
Good morning and welcome. Today is the concluding day for the celebration before about ground rules. We have our questions answered at the end of this session. To ask the question. Kindly mute yourself again to finish. Important others are speaking and maintain the decorum of the session. Now I hand over to Akshat Singh Negi. Thank you.
Good morning to one and all present here. For centuries, reading has been the source of inspiration, growth, and new ideas. It enhances our linguistic skills and has a tremendous effect in fueling all aspects of our personality. Studies show that children who read for enjoyment every day gain a broader vocabulary, develop sharper cognitive skills, and have a better understanding of other cultures. It creates awareness about the pressing social and environmental concerns. It helps in building analytical skills. It urges the young minds to think out of the box and develop multiple methods to approach a given problem. To conclude, reading is an investment in one's personality, as it aids us to flourish mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. Today is a special moment in the history of our school, as we have amongst us Nirja Kalia ma'am. It is a tradition in our school to start any function by praying to the Almighty.
जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति दर्शन मात्रे माया कामना पूर्ति जय देव जय
I request Anupa ma'am to please welcome our esteemed guest.
Very good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning.
And a very good morning. And it's an honor for us to have you with us. And ma'am, we were having a long week activities for the Literacy Week. And it is my privilege to welcome you, for concluding this important session.
Thank you.
The importance of literacy cannot be stressed enough. And even though we are in the 21st century, 20% of the world population cannot read. And that number is highest in South Asia. And children, a significant part of it is in India. A large part of literacy is being able to read. Okay? And especially in times like today when most of the world population is staying at home and not going anywhere. I am actually reminded of what Mason Cooley once said. Reading gives us some place to go when we have to stay where we are.
Yes. Very right. Very right, you said. Very true.
That is the power of reading. And it opens the windows and doors of our minds to be able to imagine children. So it's an opportunity for all of us to be more creative and learn so much more about life and how things can be what we sometimes see them to be. And reading is the best way that we can actually reach out to places where we can't in times like this. And through the week, the students of Colonel's Academy have been part of many activities in their classes, ma'am, where they have read books, they've had discussions on stories, and many of them have done presentations and spoken in front of their classmates. All activities were to encourage them to read more and, more importantly, to understand and analyze what they read. I enjoy reading, and I hope that all of you do too. Like Jacqueline Kennedy once said, there are many little ways to enlarge your child's world, and love of books is the best of all. And that then is the most important thing about reading. You need to find, so what is most important thing about reading, children, is to find good books to read. And someone has to write these books. And do you know what is common about Lewis Carroll, Enid Blyton, Roald Dahl? Anyone? Okay, I'll tell you. These are all authors and have written many wonderful books for children and allowed them to explore worlds which they could otherwise never have seen. Our students at CA have also been very lucky to have two wonderful authors who came and spoke to us last week, Mr. Lal and Mr. Arup Datta, who is a Padam Shri awardee. It was totally enthralling and wonderful, ma'am, to hear them read from their books, and the children also learned a lot from the experiences they shared and from the books they had written. But coming back to what I was saying earlier, to be able to read good books, we need someone to write good books. So what does it take? What does it take to write a good story? What are the elements of a story? Can we learn how to write a good story or even tell a story? Children, these are very important parts, very important tips that need to be kept in mind so that the other person should be wanting to read the story. The interest is there. It's, you read the first page and then you don't want to read after that. That shouldn't happen. So it is indeed fortunate that to answer these questions and to read from one of her own books, we have with us Miss Neerja Kalia, ma'am. Miss Neerja Kalia is a storyteller. It's an honor, ma'am. It's an honor for us, and has written books like The Adventures of Noni for Children. So without taking any more time, I extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Colonel's Academy family and look forward to hearing you share with us your expertise, your learnings. And I, for one, will be eagerly listening to learn and get inspired to write my own story for children. A very
Thank you.
warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and it's my pleasure to be able to address to children. And am I audible to everybody? Are the children already there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm addressing now to the children. I'm addressing the children now. So you have already gone through a week of so much of storytelling, things about literature and good literature and how to find
Excuse me,
it.
ma'am.
Yes.
There is one more child who will be saying the profile. After that, you will be requested to speak. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Okay. I shall wait. Please let me know when to start.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, I hand over to Shrishti.
Neerja Karya ma'am has worked in the field of children's education for several decades and has always nurtured a dream of weaving fascinating stories for children that are vivid, dramatic, and magical. Her stories aim to be particularly appealing to children growing up in cities who have little exposure to nature and animals. She has published 2 books of the series, The Adventures of Knowing. These books are available on Amazon, Flipkart, and Ocean Press. She is currently working on book 3 and 4 of the same series. Besides this, she has also published a collection of short stories, The Fauji Heart. She writes concepts for television series for children as well as adults. She has also worked on various aspects of television like production, creative direction, and lyrics, etc. She is currently working on a series of bite-sized stories and a novel. She also writes for children under the pen name Nessa K. Welcome, ma'am. We are eagerly waiting to learn from you. Now I hand over it to Arya.
I would now request Mirza Karya ma'am to enlighten us about the science of creating a story.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So here now I start for real. First of all, good morning to all the children who are on this workshop, and I hope that I am visible and audible to each one of you. If not, please do let me know during the session. First of all, let me thank Colonel's Academy for inviting me here, and I hope you will benefit some way or the other from this session with me. I have been a teacher most of my life, just for your knowledge, the kids, and I enjoy it even now to interact with children. So that is why I was keen to do this workshop for you. And I know that you have been, for this entire week, you have been listening to various personalities and various writers and authors and your teachers and the children who have been making presentations and writing on storytelling and all that. So I only hope that it's not too much of anything is not so good, but I hope. But I'm really privileged to be able to conclude this week for you, this week for literacy, literature and literacy, with you. And let me start with the story of the storytelling. What is a story? First of all, we have to understand that. Story is anything, and anybody can be a story writer, anybody can be a storyteller, and we all have a story to tell. Even the human beings who were here before they could even speak, they would tell stories. If you go into the history of storytelling or story writing, the earliest ones that we have, any record that we have, is the illustrations that we have found in Chauvet caves in France, which is about 36,000 years old. they would, it was most probably before the humans could even speak. They used the single line, or what we call matchstick drawings these days, for depicting the day that they had had. You will see that there are pictures or illustrations of, or symbols. Through symbols and illustrations, they would give the details of their own day that they would be. They would be hunters and gatherers. So they would, whatever adventure they had had during the day, they would come at night, sit in their caves and scratch with whatever sharp stones they would find, and all those. That is how old the art of storytelling is. Then came the language, when the people could speak but they could not write. So it was from mouth to mouth that people, from person to person, the stories kept evolving and stories were told from generation to generation without getting published or without getting even written, because there was no written alphabet in those days. But the storytelling, the passion of telling, relating what is happening with me, or what has happened with my friend, what has happened with my family or the community, is so strong in us human beings that even when we could not write or we could not speak, we still expressed through storytelling. So that is how old the art of storytelling is. Today we have many ways of telling a story, be it storytelling or reading, writing, pictures, films. There is no end to it. And this art of story writing is something totally different from storytelling. Well, storytelling is something, who can be a writer, who can be a storyteller? Each one of you, if you remember, these days you don't go to school, but when you go to school, the minute you land back at home, you keep your bag, you take a snack, and you're wanting to tell your mom or your dad or your siblings about the kind of day that you have had. That is a story. Was your day good? If it was good, what made it so good? That is a story. If it was not so good, so what was so bad that it did not make it a good day? That is a story. So each one of us has a story to tell. And there are stories floating around you everywhere. There are stories amongst your own family, your friends. Incidents are happening, something is happening, life is happening all around you. If life is happening around you, stories are happening around you. And each incident can be developed into a story. Okay? So I'll give you a small example how you can look at an incident differently. If you're on a summer day or on a clear day, if you lie down on grass in the open garden of yours or in Colonel's Academy Gardens, if you watch the clouds, the cloud formations, some of you will just see clouds, but many of you will be able to see there is. Can you? Yeah. There's some phone calls keep coming in between, so I'm sorry for that. So it is the way you look at something that is different. That thing is not different. That is the same thing. The clouds are the clouds, but the way you looked at it made it an elephant, or made it a rabbit, or made it a fairy. So it is up to you how you interpret any incident, and that makes it a story, and that makes you a storyteller. So each day, every day, you'll meet so many characters in your family, extended families, friends, and even random strangers. I still don't feel bored sitting at the airport waiting for my flight, or sometimes even for a train, because each person, each human being that is present there has a different character, is an individual who is different from others, and could be a story. You could either get all these characters into your story, or you can take a character from wherever you can and develop a story around that character. Okay, so everything and anything in this universe is a story, be it a mountain, a stream, a lake, a tree, a bird, and the humans. Okay? So you have to just, or even the news items. You can get so many plots from the newspaper. So it is up to you where you can go and find a story. How you look at any news item, how you look at any incident, how you look at any character, maybe there's a plumber who's come to work in your house. Maybe he's a very unique person, has very peculiar, let's say, style of working or style of dressing, or could be even his mannerism is what kind of, catches your eye. And you can develop a character around it and a story around it. So, therefore, anything and everything in this universe can become a story. It is up to us to how you present that story or whether you see a story in that. Now, what is a story? If I tell you that, I went to the office and I did my chore, I did my work, I had a meeting, then we went out for lunch and then we had some another discussion and a workshop and then I came back home. This is just an account of my day. What would be a story? The story would be, I left my office in the morning today and as I was halfway to my office, I had a flat tire. Now that is something that has happened, which is not in my normal routine. So now that is the story. Now that is something that has happened, which is not normal in my everyday. So I get off. So I tell you, I got off and I said, oh, still it is not such a big story. I have a meeting to catch, but here I am stuck with a flat tire. So I open my dicky. To my distress, what do I find? There is no stepney there. Oh, then I remember, I have sent it already for a repair. So what I'm trying to say is that there has to be something different from the normal routine that your eye has to catch or your imagination has to create a story. So in a story, what we do is we think about either if we have already thought about a character, then we weave a story around that character. If we have many characters, then we spread them out maybe on our sheet of paper. Okay, these are my characters. And now, this is my plot. Plot is the germ or the seed. There has to be a seed or a germ for a story. And that germ can develop, and that seed can develop into a big tree, flowering tree, a fruiting tree, whatever you want it to be. And imagine, and you must remember that you are the creator, and each character is created by you. And when these characters are woven together into the fabric of the plot of the story, that is where the story keeps moving. And when the story keeps moving, something has to happen. Something shattering has to happen, either good or bad. Something shattering has to happen around these characters. That is the plot of your story. That is the turning point, the twist in the normal introduction of the characters and the ambience and the location and so on and so forth. But something shattering has to happen. So that is where the story is at the peak. That is, the story goes like this. Let me just take my hand and show you. It just goes like this, goes up, and here we could reach, and here something shattering happens. And then we have to collect all those fabric, all those threads that have been shattered or bombarded with this one occurrence. We have to put them together. And that is the climax of the story, and then we bring it to an end. Whether it is a happy ending, or a sad ending, or an ending which can have the scope of further next episode or next book, that is entirely up to us. So that is how the stories can be written and can be. That is what is the element of a good story or an average story is that it has to create that excitement for you. It has to be a page turner. You don't want to keep the book down. You want to know what's happening. So that is the pace with which you need to write. Now, writing a story, when I say a story can be 10 minutes long. If I'm telling you a story, it can be an hour long, it can be 3-4 hours long. So there are the categories of storytelling is a novel, a short story, a bite-sized story, and then you also have the commercials, the TVCs that you see on the television. You see all the ads. Those are 20 seconds, 10, 30 seconds, sometimes even 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds, you have to convey everything about your product. That is the storytelling. That is the art of concising the entire information into 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 30 seconds. Because more than that, people are going to watch. Because they're keen to go on to their own serial or whatever, film, whatever they're watching. So this is the art. Now let me tell you about the novels. Novel has the privilege and liberty to expand. When I say expand, that means we start with either the description of the location where my novel is based, or we start with the description of the house or the home where my main character is going to be staying and the ambience around it. I can take my time to explain all that leisurely with enough, but at the same time not let the reader lose the interest in the main story. Okay, so there I do have the privilege of expanding, but I should not also expand so much that the description has to be in details, but it should not be so lengthy and so boring that the reader starts skipping the pages. It happens many times. I'm sure it must have happened with you guys also. Sometimes you just want to skip the description. But so that is the novel has that privilege, which can be 100 pages, can be 200, sometimes 1,000 pages also. So that is novel. But in a short story, let's say O. Henry's stories you must read to see the art of storytelling in a short few pages, but with so much passion. There is so much action in that story that you do not miss the descriptions. Okay, and it is focused only on, and it can be this short story can be on an incident or two incidents, whereas novel could be about a lifetime of a person, the characters. So that is the main difference between short story and a novel. And in a short story, again, you have to introduce the characters and then take it to the height, and something shattering happens and bring it to the conclusion and the end. Okay. Then you have these bite-sized stories. I'm working on one book where I'm doing very small stories, very short stories. Short means just bite-size, maybe a page, sometimes even half a page can be a story. So those are also very one incident and very quickly told, and then so much action has to be packed into that one page or 1.5 pages that it just leaves you stunned. Oh, one can write like this also. One can write about this also. Okay, it can be an incident, it can be a happening, it can be a thought, it can be just your thought or your representation of maybe a bird, or your representation, or a story, maybe a dog is telling his story. You know, it can be such short bite-sized stories. Then, as I said, the TVCs, which are the TV commercials, which have to convey maximum information in 10, 20, 30 seconds. And that is a different art totally. Then you write plays for stage, and then you write, those are again different kind of, those are mostly with dialogue. Through dialogue, you come to know about the stories. Through dialogue, you come to know about what had happened yesterday or 10 years back. It's only through the dialogues of the characters that are moving around on the stage, which you must have done yourself also many times on the stage. These are stage plays. Then writing for the films is totally a little different. It's totally a different science, because first you have to have the story, which can be written by any author. Could be a novel. The best example is Harry Potter. See, those are the books that were written first and then developed into films. So that developing those novels or those stories into a film is an art, and it is also called film writing. And they ultimately, which goes on, which you see on the screen, is based on a screenplay. I'm giving you I hope it's not getting boring. I'm giving you all these aspects of writing so that you can know that there is so much that one can do as a writer. So screenplay is a technique in which, for instance, when I was doing my illustrations for The Adventures of Noni, my artist was sitting in Calcutta. I was in Gurgaon. There was no way that we could meet and kind of, So I had to send him a written description of each picture, each illustration. Okay, first of course characters were developed, but if you see this book, each picture in that book, each illustration in that book, each drawing in that book has at least 2 to 3 paragraphs written by me, that this is the way the picture is going to look, this is the way the illustration is going to look, this is where my character is going to stand, this is the location, this is the time of the day, this is from where the light source is coming, and this is from where my camera angle is. So all those frame by frame, shot by shot, that is called a screenplay, which is done for the films. Now I would like some kind of a response from you. Have you understood that various aspects of writing, various sections or categories of writing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now when we start writing a story, we come to, we decide which is the location, what are my characters, then lay them out, weave them together, bring them to a shattering point, and then start winding up and bringing them to a climax, which is the end. Now the author has to be able to, when you create a character, then you have to, when you're writing about that character or when that character is speaking, you have to get into because you have created that character. So therefore I expect you to be that character while you are writing about that character, or while that character is speaking, while that character is acting, while that character is living his life. You have to become that character when you are writing his part. Then if there is the heroine or the villain, whatever characters you have created, so whatever they're speaking is all written by you, but for different characters. And that is where you have to hold the character, hold the nature of that character, nature and the character of that person that you have created in your imagination and in your story and in your book. Okay? So I have written a few books for children, and I am still writing for children. But there's a short story, a very small bite-sized story that I'll read out from a book which I have not published as yet. Okay, so just give me a minute. I'll just open my laptop. Yeah, this is a very short story, and you will come to know while I'm reading. And then at the end of it, if you have any questions, we shall take those. Okay, this story is called Trapped. Trapped as in trapped in a cocoon, or trapped in a place, or trapped in a prison, wherever. It's called Trapped. How happy she was to be free to go wherever she wanted to. She was playfully rumbling and tumbling over the mountainside, clean, clear and pure soul, which is what she was, reflecting the sunshine back to the universe during the day and moonlight during the night. Nothing could stop her from flowing. No rocks, no pebbles. No twists, no turns, and no sudden falls. She could deal with anything that life unfolded for her. She danced merrily and fearlessly. Mirthful she was, just to be free to go wherever the path took her. From icy banks and snowfields to spring greens and summer blooms, creating life as she embarked on her journey, spreading colors of joy, green of grass, yellow of buttercups, red of rambling rose, violet of iris, and blue of bluebells, and forget-me-not, splashing colors of joy as she passed. Her journey was never boring. She was busy being happy and making others around her just that, happy. There was no time for remorse or sadness. There was joy of just being. Just excuse me for 1 minute. I'm just fine. Yeah. Maybe you can't see me properly, but that is the angle it is. So I'm feeling comfortable. So there was joy of being in every cell of her soul. Just please give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Sorry.
We can see you very well, dear.
Something happened to my computer. I lost the page. I'm just getting it back.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. She was fearless of fate and future. She had thought that life would go on like this forever and ever, like most of us do, not realizing that nothing is forever. No situation, no relationship, no love, no hate, no friendship, no animosity, nothing. Simply nothing is forever. So joy forever was not to be. Somebody somewhere in the cosmic energies got jealous of her joyous state. The womb rumbled and mountains shook, and they started to tumble over themselves. And they started to tumble over themselves, sending landslides and demons in all directions. Their rocks and stones were dancing like possessed dervishes. Trees got uprooted and got flung like sticks. The entire cosmic dance blocked her paths. She looked around and saw a mountain had slid behind her and blocked her from her origin, from where she came. She could not go forward as another mountain had slid down and blocked her path, bringing her journey to a sudden halt. Darkness set in. Stagnation crept in from the edges. It moved in inch by inch. It moved inch by inch towards the core of her being. She rose in anger, thrashing, tugging, nudging, but her situation did not change. She remained imprisoned and arrested. Grief hit her. I'm having a problem holding the phone as well as the two together. Even if I'm not visible, I'll be audible, so please bear with me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Neerja. We can
Yeah.
hear it. Yeah.
The entire cosmic dance blocked her way. She looked around and saw a mountain had slid behind her and blocked her from her origin. She could not go forward as another mountain had slid down and blocked her path, bringing her journey to a sudden halt. Darkness set in. Stagnation crept in from the edges. It moved in inch by inch towards the core of her being. She rose in anger, thrashing, tugging, and nudging, but her situation did not change. She remained imprisoned and arrested. Grief hit her as she had never known before. Lofty mountains had from all sides. Gloom set in, and deep, deep depression seized her from within. Darkness fell all around her, without the moonbeams. Her crystal pure soul got murky and muddy. She stood there in her utter bewilderment, not knowing what to do. She had never known life the way it stood today. How could she deal with it? She wondered. She stood still, which she had never before, looking around her to assess her situation. It was disastrous. She closed her eyes and peeped within. There was no escaping from the reality, and the reality was that her entire life had changed. Her character had changed. Her basic personality had changed. Her situation had changed. Her choices were limited. She was trapped in time and space. She could see that it was impossible for her to break free again. She felt helpless, and her helplessness turned into restlessness, and restlessness into anger, and anger into boundless rage. She started thrashing against the mountains that had entrapped her, but they were too mighty, lofty, and strong for her. They were intimidating. They were not imaginary, they were real. There was no way she was going to be able to escape from this prison. She became pensive and calm. She said to herself, "This is only temporary. I cannot continue like this." Her soul became soiled and restless. She wanted to flow, and flow she could not. She wanted to be free, but there was no way she could buy her freedom. There were no bribes, no negotiations, no bargains, none. This realization dawned that the only way out of this situation was acceptance. She tried to calm her restless soul like a mother would calm a child who had thrown a tantrum. She did succeed after much struggle. She and her soul calmed down. She had never known calmness. She kind of liked it. What does one do? Give up? Just being? No. The answer was a big no. She had to deal with the situation she was in and make best of it. Suddenly a new realization emerged within her. She had to be what she had become now, and not lament over what she was or what she could have been. She had to find the best assets that her current situation had to offer, evaluate them, and use them to the optimum. So she realized that she was a carefree mountain stream always on the move, but now she is a massive lake. And then she peeked within and realized that there were many fresh water springs blooming in her womb. She had become a fresh water lake, and therefore she was not stagnant. The sun still shone on her waters. The moon still visited her at night, even if she used her only as a mirror. Though she could not dance with the sun rays and the moonbeams anymore, but there was life oozing within her, and she was capable of helping create once again filled with joy. She felt this strong desire had come. She was the best gurgling mountain stream in the world, and now she had to become the most beautiful lake in the world. Simple as that. Once she realized this, she put all her energies working towards being the most beautiful lake in the world. Sorry for this interruption. This is the end of the story.
Very nice. Thank you.
Life lessons sometimes can be communicated through a story. So this is my just humble way of putting the things that no situation can be bad enough to have to give up. So it is not the situation that is bad, it is the way we react to that situation that makes it bad. So through stories, we also teach life lessons, and for generations people have taught religion, and religion is something, a different subject totally, but storytelling has been there a part of all the entire aspects, all complete aspects of human life. So I think we can open the house to the questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Arya, please carry on.
Thank you, ma'am.
I also see one question in the comments, if you would take it later.
Yeah, sure. And before we start taking the questions, I just want to tell you, children, that never, if you feel like writing, write. Don't think that what am I going to write. If nothing else, just write a diary. Start writing what you have done during the day. Start writing about your friends, anything, but keep writing. We used to have a teacher when I was in school. She would say that if you cannot fly, run. And if you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But keep moving, keep going. So I would say if you write a page, great. If you write a para, great. Just don't stop writing. Write a sentence, write 2 lines, but keep writing. And keep writing about your thoughts. And of course, for becoming a good author also, it's important to read. As they say that books are your best friends. And while you're reading, you do understand the style. Pay attention to the style of the author. Pay attention to the words, and always sit with the dictionary next to you when you read a book, so that if there are new words that you come across, look it up and try and use it. And also, never give up writing if you feel like writing. And when you read other authors, you may even want to be like them and start writing in this style. But ultimately, you have to create your own style. That is where your own creativity will come in. That's it. That's all. I'll wind up here now. And I wish you all best. And I am very sure that many of you are already budding authors. Please keep it going and please keep writing. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me for such a long time. Thank you. And I apologize for the interruption in between.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your extensive knowledge about different elements of story writing. Now we have question and answers round. I call Vanshika Bagana to ask her question.
Sure. Good morning,
ma'am. My question is, how do we develop the concept of a story? Is there a process for it?
Okay, as I said, that the concept of a story can be totally your imagination or can be picked up from any incident that has happened around you, or a friend has related some incident that she has had or he has had, or you see some incident on the road, you see, you read the newspaper, some news hits you, and there are, as I said, that there are story concepts everywhere, all around you. You just have to pick them up and think about it. And yes, there is a way of doing it. When you have a germ, we call it, or a seed of a story, you pen it down and then make a graph of the entire story. Okay, how is your story going to move? Where is it going to go? Where is it going to start, and where is it going to go, and where is it going to end? So concepts can be created by you. Concepts can be picked up from, that was the initially also I had said that there are concepts, there are stories all around you. So you can just pick up any concept or create your own concept. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. The things are very clear to me now.
I would now request Shivani Birthare to ask her question.
Good morning.
Ma'am, what motivated you to write for children?
Okay, as I told you, I have been a teacher most of my life. I grew up listening to stories. My father would create stories and would tell us a story at our bedtime. And that is how I thought that yes, today children's stories are children's films, children's stories are very, very rare. The very few authors go in for writing for children. And then I also had an experience of seeing that children did not know where their eggs were coming from, where the milk was coming from, where did the apples grow. So all these things, children today living in urban cities were not able to answer. So that is how I said no, there has to be, I have to introduce these children to the nature and where we are getting our sources. So that was, and then of course I had my own children and I have my own grandchildren for whom I wanted to write the stories. So that's how I started writing for children. Thank you.
Next we have Poojan Chaudhary to ask her question.
Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is, giving us an insight about your life. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. My question is, ma'am, we heard you talking about the different parts of the story, like characters, theme, settings, plots, etc. But how do we weave all of them together?
May I ask some questions to the children in the meantime? How many of you are interested in writing? How many of you are interested in really writing?
Ma'am,
Have you ever tried writing anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So what?
Yes,
Okay, what?
Yes, ma'am.
That's very nice. So can you tell me what did you write when you wanted?
Yes,
Ma'am, I have written a story.
One by one. Tell me.
Manasvi?
Ma'am, I write everyday diary.
Everyday diary. That's a very good idea. Like ma'am also said, that you can start with writing a diary. That's a very good way of starting if you want to write. And anybody else? What do you think you want to write?
Yes, Bhavya?
Ma'am, I am also writing a diary.
Okay. And who else?
I'm trying a writing story.
Oh, that's excellent. So what kind of stories do you think you want to write on?
The topic can be the green gold coin.
Okay, that's very nice. So, you know, children, today what ma'am told you, you can write a story on anything. If you are interested in writing, like she says, you know, even if you look at the sky and if you look at the clouds, you know, if you actually look at the clouds, they keep changing shapes. Sometimes, you know, they look like a lion, sometimes they look like a bear, sometimes it's so exciting if you can just look at the.
Interrupt you, ma'am. Ma'am is there now. Ma'am has joined. Yeah.
Welcome back, Nija ma'am. Children are waiting to ask you questions. Can you hear us, Nija? Please unmute yourself. Nija, you are on mute. Just unmute yourself. You are still on mute. Can you hear me, Nija? Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can
I've
hear.
unmuted myself.
Okay, children.
Okay. Yeah,
No,
sorry.
not a problem. Children, carry on.
Yes, Poojan?
Maybe we can take one or two only questions.
Poojan was the one who was asking a question.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ma'am, I
ma'am.
also write
Poojan,
stories.
Good morning.
Ma'am, I write
good morning.
stories.
Sorry, Pooja?
Asking Nija, I was asking the children how many of you do. So this girl is saying that she also writes stories.
Okay. That's wonderful.
That's
Wonderful.
yeah.
So,
Okay, shall we can only have two more questions? Then,
okay.
ma'am, ma'am,
Okay.
okay.
Then
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, my question is, we heard you talking
Yeah.
about the different parts of the story, like characters, themes, plots, settings, etc. But how do
Yeah.
we weave all of them together?
Okay, that is where your plot comes in. When you create the characters, you already have the plot in your mind, right? You have the seed, the germ, the very basic thought on which you want to weave the story. And while you're doing that, that is when your characters are going to get introduced and evolved. So the first thing is to, first of all, you have to, for any story, first of all, there has to be the plot, there has to be the theme, there has to be the basic germ, the basic seed of the story. And then you decide, okay, this is my story, how many characters do I want, and how many, what is my location. That is where I said that when you weave those characters together, because you already have the plot in your mind. Okay, so that plot is what is the concept. The concept is the plot, the seed, the basic thread of the fabric of the story is your plot. What is in your mind? That is what is the plot, and then you can create the characters and then make them interact, and as per the plot, as the plot moves, the characters will get woven into each other's existence, because there's nothing in any story, there is no character which is just there by the way. It can happen in life but not in a story, because story, everything is very expensive, in the sense that time, and the time is very expensive. So in that time you cannot just get a random character coming in and going out. No, that character has to have an aim. Whatever you write, it has to convey something to the reader, and whatever character is there, it has to be placed there with an aim, either to be used later on, or to be taken halfway and then ended over there. So everything happens for a reason in a story. It cannot be like real life, because real life can be boring also at times, but in a story you have to create those situations, and it cannot, nothing can be random or without any aim. Even when you watch a movie, you will see that in each screen, in each scene, there is some message which is given related to this plot of the story. And if it is not there, that means it's not a good movie. If they're wasting screen time, that means it's not a good movie. So you have to have the plot absolutely written down before you start writing a story. When I say plot written down, that means the points. This is what is going to happen, this is what is going to, in pointers. So that is how you weave the story together. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. I picked up a lot and would definitely use all these tips while writing a story.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Best of luck.
Now I call Adya Sharma to ask her question.
Okay, Arya, go ahead. Yes, Arya?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Arya.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, my question to you is, how do you make the character seem real?
Okay, that is a tough question. Characters can be created, and as I said, that you can, they should be like human beings that you want them to be, and they should look lifelike and not be too dramatized. Then they will look natural and real. If there's too much drama, okay, that every story, every dialogue that he has to say is dramatic, or is in comments we say filmy, that is not so. It has to be the way I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I have not prepared talking to you or answering this question, so it is coming naturally to me as I'm thinking. It's coming to me. So that is the talent of the author, to be able to get, as I said, to get into the character and make the character behave the way you want the character to behave. Okay, so the character will not become lifelike. You have to create that character, and you have to infuse that life into that character, and it depends on you whether you will put an artificial being in it, or you put a natural lifelike character into that character. So that is up to the author. Okay, is that a little clear to you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. That was truly enriching.
Thank you. All the best.
I would now request Nokbi to ask her question.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Nafisa.
Do any of the characters remind you of someone in real life?
Of course. Certainly. You pick up stories and characters as you move in your life. As I said before also, that every character can become a character in your novel. Every person that you meet, if that person strikes you as unique or different from the normal, or something special about him or her, can become a character in your book, in your story. So you can pick up characters from real life. Stories are from real life, and then that is how it is. You give it an artistic twist, and they become stories, right?
Thank you, ma'am. That was really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed a wonderful session, and I am sure we all have learned immensely from you. Now I request our chairperson, Kiran Bahadur ma'am, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Arya. So today, as we conclude our Literacy Week activities, I'm happy we are able to do it with the presence of a very prolific author and a very, very dear friend of mine, Neja Kalia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neja. The importance of literacy has been stressed enough through the whole week. Our teachers, they have been busy and very proactive in making our students read and interact with different activities designed to encourage them to read. Today they learn the elements of story writing. And I hope this session inspires many of them to start writing. And it's a wonderful gift to have if one can write stories or anything, that aspect that is told us about bite-sized stories, about TV commercials, plays. There's so many types of writings. I'm sure the children would have picked up many of them. And I truly believe Stephen King said, books are a uniquely portable magic. So you can go into that magic land, I suppose. And we at the Girls Academy family have been very lucky and privileged that we've had in this week 3 extremely talented writers and storytellers joining us and inspiring us with their talks and books. It is indeed an extremely special week for us. And I want to thank each one of them, and especially you, Neja, who took time to join us today. I know how busy you've been in last few weeks, sitting in a beautiful place near Pune, and still able to take time to come and speak to our students.
No, it was a pleasure.
And whatever you shared, I think the aspects, the role of character, plot, setting, everything is going to, I think, give some make the children creative, to start learning on lines, so that's very important. And I also want to thank Vice Principal, Simi Ma'am, Anubha, Anita Sinha, and all the teachers who were part of this event throughout the week. And because of that, we were able to have a very successful event for 1 week. Thank you so much, all of you. And it was actually due to the tireless efforts that we really had plethora of activities for our students throughout the week and a very successful literacy week. And to my students, I would say, read as much as you can. Every book you read is it's like a window opening, and your mind's becoming creative and your mind's becoming innovative. And try to read at least one book in a month and carry this habit with you throughout the life. And that will be the best habit that you will be able to develop. And before I end, I once again thank you, Neja, and the efforts that you put in to speak to our students. And Colonel's Academy family is really grateful to you. And we extend the welcome to you to please come and visit our school once things become normal. We would love to host you.
Yes. Of course, I would love to come. And the pleasure was entirely mine. And thank you so much for inviting me to interact with the children. And
thank you.
Thank you very much. And
we are honored
best
to
of
have
luck to all the children. Best of luck to all the children. And especially thank you and your staff and your entire family of Colonel's Academy.
Thank you
very much.
I would like to end from Kofi Annan saying, literacy is a bridge from misery to hope, and it's a tool for daily life in modern society. Literacy is finally the road to human progress and the means through which every man, woman, and child can realize his or her full potential. Before you go, I would request you to stay on for our school song, which has been written by Fateh. So I would like you to...
Sure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Children. I hand over to the children.
Thank you, ma'am. Today's program ends with our school song, which has been written by our founder father, Colonel Fateh Jang Bahadur.
Never
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neja, once again. And we look forward to seeing you in school physically sometime. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. All of you are now requested to log out.